Everything was explained to me already.
Yeah?
I knew what it was. It was some design of an aircraft by some space alien.
Milton Torres says a U.S. intelligence agent ordered him to keep his mouth shut. The odd encounter is one of hundreds of once classified UFO sightings released last month by the British government. It's the sort of disclosure UFO investigators are demanding from the U.S. government. How would people react?
Well, it would be kind of good. It's about time.
Former astronaut Edgar Mitchell is the sixth man to walk on the moon and a firm believer that aliens have visited our planet repeatedly. So I had to ask, why are they coming in these little glancing visits and we haven't had a more meaningful dialogue or contact or attempt to communicate with these people?
I think we have.
Really?
I think we have, but it is not common knowledge.
Mitchell told me after he returned from the moon, he was briefed at the Pentagon by a high-ranking officer, whose name he would not reveal, who said the U.S. government does have evidence of alien spacecraft and is keeping it a secret.
Well, I think the reason it's still a secret is power and control, controlling whatever technology exists.
There is an overwhelming mass of proven, real government documents that have been released largely through the Freedom of Information Act that show decades of, for example, airspace violations, very sensitive places by objects doing what appeared to be the impossible. We have these documents from the 1940s, we have them from the 1950s, we have them from the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. So these airspace violations continue. They are provocative, they are at times seemingly confrontational. You have pilots who have been charged with going up to get these things, and they have described them at times saying, yes, it appears to be a metallic disc-shaped, there it goes.
I began on this topic by trying to do reverse engineering on gravity control devices in 1968, but now I'm officially looking at leaked question documents. And some of the documents tell an amazing story. One of the leaked documents started with FDR, and FDR had set up, through Vannevar Bush, a committee called the Non-Terrestrial Science and Engineering Committee. These were guys, after the recovery of a crashed flying saucer in 1942, who were given the parts and told to figure out how they worked. They came back to FDR in 1944 and asked for money. And he said, no, we've got to win the war first, beat the Nazis. And then in 1947, it was Vannevar Bush who went to President Truman, who didn't know about all this, and said, by the way, we have these craft, we could do some reverse engineering in order to improve our country, to improve our culture, to improve our standard of living. And that was when the money started to flow.
July 2002, right here in the Washington, D.C. area, there was yet again a airspace jet chase by two F-16 jet interceptors, which were chasing a bluish object right outside D.C.
This volcano is the most active in Central America and one of the most active in the whole continent and the world. It has eruptions constantly, especially pyroclastic eruptions. That's when the smoke or the dust doesn't go up, but it comes falling on the side of the mountain. And it's very dangerous because it kills people. It's very hot, 400, 500 centigrades, and it's very fast, 500 to 800 kilometers an hour. The sound, okay? Oh.
Let's see.
Wilder, mira.
Wow. Holy shit. Wow. Oh.
It's just amazing. I believe everything is important around this phenomenon. But I think what is actual, what is happening now, is what attracts the most interest, because that evidence somehow are telling us how this phenomenon is moving. And we can see a change of an agenda from very far to very near. And I think this is happening around the world. We will see very clear videos that will prove that something is happening right now and something is going to happen in the very near future. We have the so-called Mayan calendar. Why is it so important? Here we have a calendar, and here we have a sign of continuous rotation, a cycle. The Mayans believe that our solar system, and they were right, went around a center every 25,625 years. And they divided the calendar in 5,125. 5 parts of that calendar made a full cycle. Here we have 4 calendars. Inside we have times of 520 or 5,100 or 5,200. And outside we have 5,200, 5,100. Which means that we are very near to the calendar. 2012 is going to be the end of the calendar.
The Maya had 2 calendars at the very center of their civilization. The Zolkin calendar was 260 days long. This was celebrated every day by every person. Then we have the Tune calendar, 360 days long. And this calendar is known as the Divine calendar. Every 52 revolutions of this calendar, these 2 teeth match back up. Every 52 Tune, all debts were absolved. And they started all over. Our calendar only has to do with our speck of mud going around this little speck of light we call the sun, in a sea of 100 billion stars, in this one galaxy out of 100 billion galaxies in the universe. So how big is our calendar? These guys were looking at something a lot bigger. They certainly weren't timing any physical cycles of things in our solar system. What were they timing? The Mayan calendar is in 9 different levels. That's why all those pyramids down there are all 9 levels. But each one of these levels is subdivided into 13 individual sections. There are 7 periods of light, and there's 6 periods of dark. 7 days and 6 nights to each level of creation. Each day is a period of increase in consciousness, and each night is a period of applying that consciousness. This very first cycle started 16.4 billion years ago. It's called the cellular cycle. 16.4 billion years is divided into 13 different sections. Each one of them 1.26 billion years long. A day was 1.25 billion years. And each night lasted for 1.25 billion